Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yassine TAOUSSI. I am a program director at JESA in Power2X projects, and I'm very delighted and happy to share this stage with our esteemed panelists. We will go through the green ammonia topic, seeing challenges and opportunities, and try to cover all what is related to green ammonia in this 35 session. So ammonia itself is not a new molecule. It has made the century and been essential since the first synthesis of Haber-Bosch process, exactly in 1908. And now again, it's becoming central with the climate change to have a big role in the energy transition. However, we must address also some hurdles like scaling up production, cost reduction, and also find a viable market for the green ammonia. So to go through all these topics, I'm very honored to have the esteemed panelists. I will let them introduce themselves and also their entities, starting by Madam Laila El Bouaaychi from InnovX.
Hello everyone, my name is Laila El Bouaaychi. I'm working on green ammonia, so I'm business development director at Hydrogel, a business of InnovX within OCP Group ecosystem. And so I'm currently working on the development of two main projects. The first one aims at producing 100 KT of green ammonia by 2026. And the second one of 1 million ton of green ammonia by 2027 in Tarfaya, which is in the south of Morocco. And so actually OCP is investing this field in order to decarbonize its industry as it has committed to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. And so we are developing this project on behalf of OCP. On my side, so I joined InnovX 3 years ago at the launch of this new endeavor. So, and before that, I worked over a decade at OCP Group in various positions, among which working also on OCP Africa. And so I'm very excited to be here today and looking forward to our discussions.
Thank you, Laila. Mr. Christopher Frank.
Yeah, good evening, I have to say already, a long afternoon. My name is Christopher Frank. I'm heading the business development of ThyssenKrupp Uhde for Africa and Asia. My profession is chemical engineer. I'm with the company since 31 years now and started my career there in the ammonia process department. So I know my way around ammonia a little. We are happy as ThyssenKrupp Uhde to be represented here and also to be able to contribute to the projects my neighbor just mentioned to a certain extent at least, we hope, with our technologies. We are in the ammonia business since 97 years. The first ammonia from us has been commissioned in 1927. From my former comments, those of you who have been here earlier, ammonia is nothing new. Ammonia is, in fact, on September 19, in 1914, the first commercial plant has been put in operation at BASF in Ludwigshafen. And the reactor can still be visited. It's in front of the guest house. Having said that, yes, of course, ammonia process has been improved, and in conjunction with electrolyzers, it's also nothing new. I mentioned that earlier. Plants are in operation there. And I think with our expertise here and also in the electrolyzer field, because Uhde used to have a very big electrolyzer business, which is now called Nucera, New Uhde Chlorine Engineers Era, went to the stock market last year. We do have some experience. And I think the problem of green ammonia is the cost. Well, it was mentioned in the round before that the NEOM project with approximately 3,500 tons per day of daily green ammonia production is has a financing volume of 8.4 billion. And I think that's what we need to target for and to bring down the cost in conjunction with political instruments coming from the off-taking market ecosystems. That's it for now for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. So let's have Mr. Tom.
Yes, good evening also from my side. My name is Tom Houtekiet. I'm the Chief Business and Transition Officer for the Port of Antwerp-Bruges. For those who would not know our port, we are one of the major ports in the world. In fact, we are an ecosystem where the maritime business, the industry, and logistic business are coming together. We are one of the biggest chemical clusters in the world and do import also 15% of the LNG of Europe. So we have some quite important building blocks in our hands, and that's why we energy transition as a whole, so not only hydrogen and its carriers, but energy transition as a whole is really on top of our agenda. Yeah, I will keep it for that for the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tom. And last but not least, Mr. Benedikt.
Thank you, bonsoir. Je m'appelle Benedikt MESSNER de Uniper Global Commodities, and I'll continue in English. I'm a senior vice president there. Uniper is a German energy company. We made it into the press quite often in the last few years because we've been one of the biggest importers of gas into Europe, mainly Russian gas. So that has stopped, and we're the biggest importer of LNG now to Germany. We also produce electricity, and we also certainly look into producing hydrogen. That's one part. The other aspect is that we, based on our experience in shipping hard coal, LNG, we now turn into looking how we can, and we think we can move ammonia molecules. Ammonia molecules, which in our reading is best used as a feedstock in the first place. So we intend to supply decarbonized product to customers that we supply with gas and power. That's mainly the German or European fertilizer industry. That's also the chemical industry. We offer them shipping solutions, storage, risk management, and security of supply. And therefore, we're engaged with a lot of projects globally in order to offtake those molecules and bring them to destination. That's not an easy task, and we'll hear in the panel, but also we have heard before of what it takes to match demand and supply and be able to manage residual risks. In the third place, we think about ammonia as a shipping fuel, a bunker fuel, which is something that's gaining speed and has gained speed recently, both on the safety measures, on the bunker procedures, both in ports, but also in ship and engine builders. So that's a good space for rapid expansion of use case. And then further down the route, and the session is called Ammonia as a Key Play in the Hydrogen Economy, we believe it's still the best, well, almost the best way of transporting hydrogen, which then for certain and very specific use cases only can be cracked into something that's then green hydrogen, which in Germany, in Europe, in some parts qualifies as a fuel. And actually, there's an obligation to mix that low carbon, no carbon fuel into existing fuel production in refining processes. So that's a use case that's further down the road, but we need to test efficiencies and the economics of cracking before. So that's the spectrum that we cover.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Benedikt. So let's start with Mr. Frank and maybe give him more time to develop the intervention that he started with the previous panel. So a basic question and direct question: why will be ammonia? Why the transition, energy transition, ammonia will be like the best solution and the best career, technically and economically? What does it advantage compared to other careers, in your opinion, Mr. Christopher?
Thank you. I think the biggest advantage of ammonia is it doesn't contain carbon. So if there's no carbon, you cannot produce any CO2 if you burn it. And this is, I think, one of the major advantages. Number two, it is very easy to transport. I'm not saying it's trivial, but it's proven and is done on a day-to-day basis on all kinds of routes. Ammonia can be transported on ships, on rail cars, on trucks, and very soon we will see the first pure ammonia-fueled container ships cruising the oceans. And that is all in the absence of CO2 free then. It can be safely operated. It's certainly nothing for the average citizen to handle. You need experienced people handling ammonia, but that is the major advantage. It's safe to transport, it's carbon-free and hence CO2-free if you burn it. And that's also the advantage over, for example, methanol, which contains a C and needs a biogenic feedstock in order to get that carbon atom into methanol. So there were discussions in the past about methanol-based bunkering, which can be seen as an intermediate steps for sure. Ammonia is certainly easier to handle than methanol is certainly easier to handle than ammonia, but at the end of the day, we will not have enough biogenic feedstock. And if you do that and have that biogenic feedstock, you better convert the methanol then into SAF, for example, and the first processes are being under development. Coming back to ammonia, some of you might know or not that a very interesting project is ongoing in Singapore because IHI from Japan and others are financing and building ammonia-fueled power plant with an ammonia-fueled gas turbine. And if that's going to be successful, the plant is subject to be started up, I think, next year or early the year after next year. This might turn out to become a game changer because you don't need to crack ammonia in large quantities to get the hydrogen to burn it then in gas turbines, but you can do that directly if that works. And knowing that, power generation in countries who don't have enough own resources to feed their economies with electricity, this will be very, very interesting. And that ammonia can be green or blue, or let's say blue ammonia for an intermediate period, and in the long run green, because green ammonia plants, unfortunately, as of today, are rather expensive, as we've seen earlier in that comment on the financing amount of NEOM in Saudi Arabia. And why is that? Because you need to build a completely new power generating infrastructure with a renewable power or hydro dams and so on, which is already available in terms of gas. So once that is available, the costs will go down on the electricity side for sure. And again, green ammonia is something we strongly believe in and bet our money on that it is going to come. Yeah, there's not much more to say. Ammonia is the only option we have because its energy content is pretty high and it has no carbon. And I think that's the major driver why ammonia is, from our perspective, unavoidable. And it's also easy to build. We can do that even on a lump sum turnkey basis with fixed prices. So the market risks that have been discussed earlier and the risk of the project itself, they are mainly related to political ecosystems, political environments, markets that need to be regulated in the first place to become more and more mature and independent in the future. So that's how we see things. Again, the technology itself is safely available. We can build these plants, and they operate reliably for several decades. On the electrolyzer side, I may add, there might be some technological risks because many new players are entering the market from China, but also from Europe, from the US, because everyone sees that as an interesting market. We will see how these electrolyzers perform, and that's also, let's say, a little hurdle and is seen by the financing institutions, that there's still a lack of references in the long run, longer operating periods of the newly developed systems like alkaline water electrolysis under pressure, or solid oxide electrolysis cells which need heat, which appears to be one of the major trends. We will see all that, but it's all solvable, and mankind can do that, and I think we have to start here. One word also again to shipping. The global trade will increase. The world population is still growing. If we go and convert the current fleets into ammonia-fueled ships, the estimated market volume by 2050 is in the range of 180 million tons of ammonia for bunkering fuel, which is approximately the amount that's being produced today already. Just to achieve that, if we would do all that in let's say green ammonia plants, the world would need 5 to 6 NEOMs per year. NEOM, $8.4 billion US in investment cost. 5 to 6 of these plants per annum, plus maybe an increase in plants that need to be replaced because they are aging and being replaced. So we're talking about an investment volume somewhere in the range of, I don't know, 60, 70 billion per annum that needs to be made. That's a substantial amount. So the question, how do we finance all that, I think is something we have to ask ourselves, and that's going to be the crucial question. Enabling the markets to kickstart them, that's the first task our politicians have. Here in Morocco, luckily, the king has made the right decisions in order to accelerate that. Other nations are a little bit delayed here, and also the European Union, I think, is a little bit captured in ideology at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And before going to financial aspect, let's take advantage of the presence of Mr. Chong from Port d'Anvers and try to cover the transportation and logistic aspect of green ammonia. So how green ammonia can overcome some logistical constraints and barrier that other carriers of hydrogen have?
I think Christophe mentioned already a lot. I think the biggest challenge is really not the technology challenge here. It's really has been in many panels discussed, the market dynamic. I think it's the key essence is that you cannot only subsidize this, even not in Europe. The amount of volume you need, as was mentioned, and the cost gap to bridge is too big. It's too big. So we really need to come to a global system of carbon tax, and that's what's not exist today. Only 20% of the countries in the world have implemented the carbon tax in the world. And I think that is the driver really to overcome the projects and the demand side. That's the first step. A good example as an exception is indeed the maritime business, because there it's one business, it's a big business worldwide, and implementing a tax system on that business, we as an end user and a country as a specific individual country does not feel that. It's really implemented by the operators and the carriers, and that's why it's so interesting. And you do see, if you can find that type of mechanism, that really those operator shipping lines are doing the investments. They are moving away from fossil fuel vessels over LNG, which is the standard already today, to some to methanol, as for instance Maersk, but others to ammonia, as MOL, Mitsui, as NYK, the Japanese companies. So it's coming. So you do see that the maritime business will for sure drive a very specific offtake market with big volumes. So back to the technology itself, I fully agree. I don't think the technical challenges are that big. I think we see two of them. One is the electrolyzers scaling up, proof of concept at a bigger scale at a low cost, because they have to come to double size and half of the price, and they have to stick for a long time. And I think that we don't know yet. Yeah. So question mark. With several technologies, which are available today. Which one will win? Not sure yet. Second, on the entry side, when it arrives, for instance, in the port of Antwerp, cracking. We are talking about gigawatts, about enormous volumes, which has to be cracked. But the biggest cracker today in the world is standing in the port of Antwerp with 15,000 tons. That's Air Liquide has now 15,000 tons. They will scale up next year to another project, which is in order of magnitude 100,000 tons. But that's one of the biggest in the world. So really also proving that cracking technology can go fast and is sustainable. Yeah? Over time, I think these are the two really technical challenges. The engines for the vessels are coming next year. They are in preparation. So I do agree that that will most probably not be the challenge, and carrying ammonia for sure is not a challenge. It happens on a daily basis, on a vessel, in a pipeline, in a terminal, in a port already today in massive volumes. So I think it's, for me, technical challenge mainly to electrolyzers and cracking. But the major challenge is really carbon tax implemented worldwide.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Tom, for this insight. Let's come back to Morocco with Madam Laila, who is developing one of the biggest projects in the region and also in the world. And in your opinion, Laila, how can Morocco leverage its position and the resources to go beyond the unique use for Moroccan case for fertilizers and like make ammonia a better business case for Europe and all for the rest of the world?
So indeed, in Morocco, we have the chance to have abundant renewable resources. We talked about this in every panel. So we have both solar and wind that are combined in the same region, and that's very crucial to produce competitive hydrogen and ammonia. And so OCP has, as I mentioned before, that wants to decarbonize its industry, has taken a bold move, a strategic move, to break the traditional chicken and egg dilemma that we're talking about, because indeed it's difficult to find offtake, and also off-takers are waiting for producer. So instead of waiting for the market to develop, they decided to invest in a large giga-scale green ammonia project in order to serve their own demand and decarbonize their industry. But by doing that and investing in that green ammonia project, it's not only about fertilizer, because ammonia is not only about fertilizer. As we mentioned, it is a hydrogen carrier, once for which we have the existing supply chain, we have the existing infrastructure, and I could not agree more with you. So OCP is importing between 1 and 2 million tons of green ammonia every year. So making it the single biggest importer of ammonia in the world. So infrastructure are there. We know how to transport ammonia for large distance, how to store it in large volumes. Maybe we need to upscale or to, because there probably will be a need for more ships in the future since there will be more projects. But we have already this infrastructure. And so by doing that, we could address also the need of our nearest market, which is the European market, that needs today to decarbonize its industry. And for instance, the chemical industry that needs to use up to 32% of green hydrogen that is compliant with the RFNBO regulation that are being defined under the Renewable Energy Directive. It's a potential for them, an easy, or at least it could be a good opportunity for them to import this ammonia and crack it and still be as competitive or even more competitive than producing hydrogen in Europe. So this is one of the aspects that we're looking at. For sure, there are other industries that are beyond the energy or the hydrogen, and we're talking about the maritime, indeed, that could bring tremendous need and demand in the future, or using ammonia directly and burning it. That also are some uses that are now considered. So for us, the idea is to leverage this green ammonia project, but not to stop there, but to start into a new industry. And Morocco could be one of the biggest supplier of ammonia and hydrogen in the world, because we have the renewable resources. And so what we're trying to do also in our projects is to build the whole ecosystem in Morocco that could help develop this green ammonia and green hydrogen project by developing local manufacturing, partnership with electrolyzer OEM, with other downstream projects. So all of that we think would contribute to the development of the green ammonia industry and the green hydrogen in the large scale.
Thank you, Laila. So thank you for this detail regarding what Morocco can offer. In one word, if I can ask you quickly to stay more on the positive notes, and so it's mixed blessing, opportunities and challenges. So for you, and I will start with you, Mark. In one word, in one sentence, for you, what is the biggest challenge or barrier do you think now for making green ammonia the real molecule for energy transition? And I will try also to associate our audience to raise hand for any, to see really what is your opinion regarding what is the biggest challenge that you are facing now to make it for green ammonia. So starting with you, Mark, what is the biggest challenge? Yeah. In one word or in one sentence,
I think there are twice. I think two items. First of all, if I look at Europe, we need a transparent, easy translation of the RED III document into national legislation, that it's clear and understandable.
So it's more regulation, legislation.
Clarity. I think that is the word, clarity.
Clarity.
To understand in which specific sectors and parts of a sector do we force green or do we allow clean? I think that is really important, and we miss that today. Yeah. Second, as I mentioned, try to find on a global perspective a regulation on carbon tax. How can we implement that? Because not tomorrow, but over time, we will need that if we want to get that ball rolling on more projects to come.
Thank you. Laila, in your opinion?
So I would say I would join you on the regulatory framework. So I think that today there's a lot of uncertainties about the regulation that are still in the making and that are different across the region. So what we call green in Europe might vary to what is called green in Asia or US. And even within the European countries, they are still looking at how to translate the European directive in their countries. So that creates a lot of uncertainties, and especially how that would translate into the market demand. And I would say the second one also would be the premium. So how do we do today to bridge the gap between the green ammonia cost and the gray ammonia? And
so it's cost.
Cost,
Premium.
exactly.
Okay, thank you. Christopher, before going and staying with Benedikt, quickly, in your opinion,
Laila is absolutely
the main
right.
barrier?
At the end of the day, it's cost. And if you look at the very hungry, energy-hungry markets, there are three, besides the US, who are pretty self-sufficient. It's Japan, it's South Korea, and it's Europe, China as well, but Chinese industry is already converting at a dramatic speed. They will certainly not need import of green ammonia at a larger extent, but Europe, South Korea, Japan, they will. And we have to hurry up, because if the prices for green ammonia or green hydrogen are staying at that level, the industry will leave Europe. That's for sure.
So
they already started. So it's also a matter of velocity.
cost. Benedikt, so in your opinion?
So if I open up a bit wider, then I would say the biggest challenge to green ammonia is demand for AI and data. So it's electricity for other applications. And the question is always, where can that almost exponential electricity demand be satisfied? What is it? What will we use for that? Is it the 3 Mile Island example that Microsoft just did a few weeks ago, contracting a nuclear power station, revamp it, and therefore get firm load to supply data centers and AI? Is that something that we'll see in more places? We know there's considerable money now being invested in Saudi and other places to provide power to AI and data centers. So in the end, it's a question of, where would the electricity come from to satisfy all those different use cases?
So are you saying that maybe in next future we'll do a trade-off between what is primary use of electricity? Would it be the green transition or other applications?
Exactly. It's exactly the question of where does it make sense to convert electrons into molecules? And those use cases won't be many. There will be specific use cases where that makes sense, and there will be more and more use cases where you better stay with the electrons. And I do think that's the biggest challenge to, particularly the green ammonia or green hydrogen economy, as you called it.
Yeah, because also in history, and Mr. Christopher said before, maybe in Egypt, in Africa, and also in Norway, we had using green electricity to produce hydrogen, but at a certain moment, the demand of electricity was huge, and we did the trade-off, and we make it now hydrogen to gas and grey hydrogen. Another also topic that it's one of the axes of our panel is the off-take agreements, and you from your position, what do you think it is to do to be more attractive in terms to make green ammonia a viable market and attract more off-takers and more bankable business cases?
At the risk of repeating what others have said, I do think it starts with the demand and how demand can be stimulated. I do think it will have to be a compliance market in the first place. That compliance market needs to be either triggered by a carrot or a stick. There might be some industries that benefit from early adoption. And once the demand is firm, then there will be a supply chain. As Christopher said in the very beginning, I have no doubt on the technology being there, being available. I really don't doubt it. I don't doubt there's enough terminal or bunkering possibilities, ship engines, whatever available. But the demand needs to be crystallized, and that's what we're waiting for. And maybe it's the implementation of RED III, maybe it's other measures in Europe, outside Europe, that will trigger that first wave of very specific use cases. Because the good thing is, if the infrastructure is there, then ammonia plays a good role, has a great optionality to do something else with it, apart from producing chemicals, fertilizers.
Thank you. Thank you, and very insightful ideas. And thank you for all those ideas about green ammonia. We're running out of time, and we still have 5 minutes to question for the audience. Yeah, question here. I don't know who is having the mic. Can I have it?
Thank you very much for this presentation and this panel. The question I have is it's a quick one, actually. It's the elephant in the room. It's the what do you deal and how do you deal with the emissions created from the burning of the ammonia, particularly the NOx that comes out of it? I understand. I was on that first vessel that FFI had in Dubai, which was burning. It was going to be burning with running on ammonia. Fantastic to see it. It's wonderful to see this, and my hats off to the guys at Fortescue, at FFI for doing that. And but the one concern in the back of my mind has always been, how are we going to be dealing with the NOx? There are catalysts you need, there are membranes. I don't know what exactly the technical issues around that, but it really would be good to understand how we deal with that, because I think if that matter is resolved, there will be, I mean, the opportunities are fantastic in the use of ammonia, shipping and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think
You want to take it quickly? Okay,
yeah,
so-
I'll take that as a question as well. NOx is being abated already on ships today, because also if you burn diesel, NOx is emitted. If you burn ammonia, NOx is emitted, and N2O could also be emitted, laughing gas. Laughing gas is even worse than NOx because it has a harm factor of 310 over CO2. But that can be dealt with catalytic systems. They are existing. We built these in, for example, nitric acid plants since more than 20 years, 25 years almost, and reduce N2O emissions almost down to detection limit, and NOx down to detection limit. So catalytic-wise, it's not a problem. Just to take away that concern, it's really handleable. No question.
Thank you. Second question, please.
Good evening. So my question might be off given the subject, but it's actually addressed to Mrs. El Bouaykhi. So OCP has clearly been forward-looking in responding to the carbon border adjustment mechanism by greening your operations and in investing in green energy. But are you considering the fact of becoming an independent power producer to feed other sectors aside from your needs?
So I won't be talking about on behalf of OCP on that subject because I'm more focused on the green ammonia. So what I know is that OCP is investing those different fields. So create or producing green electricity, for instance, solar and wind, renewable electricity to feed and to supply power to their units in order to decarbonize. So they're looking at various type of solutions. So ammonia comes as one of the main one because this is where maybe the carbon footprint is the heaviest. But they're also looking at having green energy in order to decarbonize the production process. Now, if they're going to invest more the field of PPAs and such, that's maybe another question.
Thank you, Laila. Third question, maybe. Here.
Hi, I want to take advantage of this great panel where we have OEMs, project developers, ports, common infrastructure, and traders to make a question that's been on my mind for a while. So we've talked about the timelines for crackers, large scale being operational. We've discussed about transposition of RED 3 into national legislation and how that can shift markets. We haven't discussed about the hydrogen backbone, but that's also something to take into account. If you were a project developer with an FID soon, let's say this year or next year, you'll have molecules up and running by, let's say, 2028. Where do you think these molecules should go? Who do you think would be first interested in those molecules, and who should be reaching out? Who should you be reaching out to sell them?
I could try to answer that as a project developer. So this is what I was mentioning. The most natural market for us, at least here in Morocco, would be Europe for two reasons. One of them is the proximity to Europe, for sure. And the second one is because there is this regulation that is now being developed by the Renewable Energy Directive, and that gives a stick rather than incentive. So there are industries that needs to comply by 2030 with a certain amount of RFNBO, hydrogen or ammonia coming with this RFNBO compliance. And so that creates a huge demand in that markets. So I would start to focus on these industries, because today, as I mentioned, the gap between, or the premium between the gray ammonia and the green ammonia is still high. So unless the industries have incentives or obligations, they won't be switching to green ammonia, because they need to pass the additional costs on their value chain. So for me, this is a very important scheme to look at. So Europe and the industries that needs to comply with this regulation would be the first industries to look at.
Thank you, Laila. Maybe okay, another answer to finish the follow-up?
Yeah, I fully agree on that. You have to look where the stick of the carrot is working. So we had the example of the H2 Green Steel project, yeah, because there is really a link between the project and the end consumer or the end off-taker. That's one example. The maritime business, for sure, is making the switch. And the third one is, without being technical or coming to technical, but you have in Europe, in the RED III, you will have the refinery route. So the refineries will use a part of their green H2 for their own production processes. So I would focus on those ones in the first instance.
Maybe a last word from Christopher?
I think the steel industry itself is also something where I would look into, because the energy demand is huge, and for political reasons, steel industries are not easily moved from one country to the other. And we see that, for example, in Germany on a very prominent ThyssenKrupp Steel occasion, which is all over the press. And we see that also in H2 Steel in Sweden, where it makes sense, and the energy demand there, the hydrogen demand there is huge, really huge. And if we convert all that, it's definitely a market for green hydrogen. May it arrive via pipelines, maybe in the future from Morocco into Central Europe via pipeline, or via ammonia, green ammonia, it really doesn't matter. But the hydrogen will replace oil. We are absolutely convinced. And I wouldn't be concerned about the markets. It's more a velocity topic on how quick the markets develop and which incentives are being set.
Thank you. I don't know if, Benedikt, you have last word. We still have 1 minute. We are good on time to address this transverse question from...
Okay, I'd say thanks for your attention. That was a good discussion. Yassine, back to you. Thanks.
Okay.
Let's relieve the audience.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, esteemed panelists, for your intervention regarding this very exciting topic about green ammonia. Thank you for the audience, and hope that it was very helpful for everyone.